Welcome to Comicstorian Full Story, where we combine complete stories into one long full story. Today we are doing the crossover event that was both fun and violent. Wolverine versus Predator. Let's jump in.
Wolverine breaks through the tree line, breathing heavily as he clutches at his wounded body. A trail of blood glistens behind him as the moon shines off his revealed metal skeleton. He turns back sharply. He can sense the hunter after him, a glowing reticle appearing on his head mere seconds before Wolverine leaps out of the way of the plasma blast that rips apart a tree. He struggles up, he charges forward, but instead of safety, he only reaches the edge of a cliff and the end of the line. Behind him, the Predator drops its cloaking device, stalking forward. Logan knows what it wants. It wants them to face each other as predator and prey, so that Wolverine can look it in the eyes when it rips out his spine. This is the end of a long hunt. So we cut back in time. Where did this begin? The Alaskan territory circa 1900. A young Logan pulls himself out of the icy waters, the bodies of two beavers in his hands. He quickly returns to his camp and he skins them. He's a young man who doesn't like people. People bring problems. So he returns to his cave, where he keeps his few possessions in the world. He stalks past his roommate, a large grizzly bear that barely acknowledges him. Unknown to Logan, the quiet of the chilly wilderness is shattered by the arrival of a strange ship from another world. The ship comes to a landing and the Predator stalks outward, armed with a spear. It checks its tracking computer and it sets out on its mission. It doesn't take long to find the old hunter, the one that had been struck down by the arrows, the spears, and the knives. Its body left to freeze in the ice. But the young Predator leaves the body where it has fallen. Instead, it merely retrieves the throwing disc, a Predator weapon. Meanwhile, Logan is headed to the Scar, an outpost for trappers, miners, and loggers at the edge of the wilderness. He hates people, hates going into the outpost unless he needs money or supplies, or a drink. He steps into the saloon, stomping the snow off his boots as he moves through the bar, ignoring the looks from the other trappers.
There he is now. He's the one you're looking for. If you want someone crazy enough to take the job.
The old woman who runs the place whispers to a well-dressed patron. She crosses behind the bar, pouring Logan a drink.
What'll it be?
She asks. He raises an eyebrow, accepting the liquor. You know what I want, Nan, he growls. The well-dressed man, Tucker, steps to the bar with a smile, throwing down money. This one's on me. He buys Logan several drinks before making his offer. But before he can hear it, Logan waves him away, already smelling the trouble. You'd be a smart man to stay clear of me. Things are about to get ugly, Logan says quietly, turning to the trappers that have come up behind him. They know that Logan only comes to town when he has things to sell. The two big ones step up to him while another pulls a revolver, aiming it at the young man's head. Where do you keep your treasures, little man? There's a few of us that want to know. The drunk trapper grunts as he cocks the hammer. Logan is already moving fast, swinging a bottle, cracking the one with the gun over the head. He whirls, grabbing a chair, cracking it across the first big man, dropping him to the floor. Another comes at him with a knife, but Logan disarms him, stabbing the blade into the man's foot. The gunman has recovered. He ignores the blood leaking out of his head and he raises the weapon, firing blindly at Logan. But the young man grabs a logger's saw off the wall, swinging it, slicing through the man's hand. He doesn't like to pop the claws. He doesn't like the attention that it brings. But with the bar suddenly quiet, Logan heads out into the snow. But Tucker follows him. You there! You're exactly who I need! The man tells him, catching up to Logan and explaining that his son has been kidnapped by outlaws and he needs help rescuing him. Meanwhile, the Predator is training, learning the art of the throwing disc. He begins to stalk the wilderness, hunting the prey that this world has to offer, on land and in the ocean. He claims many trophies, until he is called by the smoke of a village, his new prey. While this is going on, Logan and Tucker are moving through the storm on horseback. Logan has decided to take the job after Tucker explained that he was a prospector who made it big. A crew of his rivals have kidnapped his son and they're demanding a ransom. He had it on good authority that the gang was holed up at the old Groff hunting cabin in the north. Logan didn't like the whole situation, but he did have a soft spot for fathers and sons. Memories of his own past quickly flash through his mind as he banishes them away. The storm begins to worsen, but the two press onward, urging their horses forward. Logan suddenly throws up a hand, his nose catching a strange scent in the wind. He turns suddenly as the horses begin to get spooked. They kick Tucker and Logan off and they run off into the wild. "What spooked them?" Tucker shouts as he pulls himself out of the snow. Wordlessly, Logan motions Tucker forward, leading them through the trees, when Tucker suddenly gasps in fear as they step into a clearing. Blood is dripping from the bodies that now hang from the trees, both animal and man. Tucker's eyes widen as Logan moves wordlessly through the clearing. "It was them! I tell you, it was the men that we're after! They're killers! They're monsters!" He shouts, unaware that something else is watching them from the trees. A little time passes. Logan and Tucker have crept up to a cabin, with Logan motioning to Tucker to stay behind as he shrugs off his coat. "Be swift, friend, and show no mercy," Tucker hisses as Logan charges forward. Logan pops his bone claws, kicking through the door. He immediately rushes forward. He launches himself, attacking the men, slashing through them, severing limbs and drawing blood. "Where is he? Where is he?" Logan begins to bellow, but his words are cut off by a gunshot and a hole appears in his chest, throwing him to the ground. Tucker steps through the door, the smoking pistol in his hands. "Well, I suppose they're all my boys, in a way," he says with a smile as he begins to collect the money in the cabin. He looks down at Logan, explaining that he had set up a railroad robbery, but the gang had decided that they didn't need him and intended to cut him out of his share. "So I decided that I no longer needed them," he says to Logan as he tips his hat, moving to the door. But a blast of energy rips through the doorway, blasting Tucker's head from his body. He falls to the ground and the Predator appears in the doorframe, stalking forward, prepared to rip Tucker's spine out of his body. But Logan, he's already healed, and with a bellow of rage, he leaps at the monster, stabbing it in the neck with his bone claws. The creature snarls, stumbling away, pulling off its mask to reveal its alien face. "Whatever you are, I'm gonna carve the ugly off of you," Logan growls, the Predator moving fast, swinging its spear and snapping Logan's bone claws apart. He recoils in pain, with the Predator whirling its spear, stabbing him through the chest. He gasps, stumbling out into the snow where he rips the spear free, allowing his body to heal. Inside, the Predator has pulled out its own medkit. It's begun to seal the wound in its neck, and they both yell out in pain. Logan starts moving, trying to escape into the storm, but the Predator, he gives chase, using its weapons to hunt Logan down. It follows him to his safe haven, to his cave. He stumbles forward, but the alien monsters drop in front of him, blocking his path. "Come and get it, you ugly freaks!" Logan snarls, the Predator preparing to attack, but a snarl of rage sounds from the shadowy cave behind it, the massive bear coming out, grabbing a hold of the Predator. It pulls him back into the shadows at that point. Logan smiles at his victory. With the battle won, he turns, moving into the storm, disappearing into history. A short time later, though, something moves in that cave. The Predator stalks outward, bloody and wounded, with the bear's head as its trophy. But that was merely the beginning of this hunt. It was decades later that a helicopter hovered over the jungles of South America. Logan didn't remember much of his past now, but he was a part of a team. The Black Ops group of mutants known as Team X, and he dropped out of that helicopter, descending into the jungles to stop a rebel group. But what they found was blood. Blood of the bodies strung up in the trees. Team X turned as one as something shadowy moved through those trees, and vague memories of a monster flashed through Logan's mind, but this time, the Predator brought a team of its own. The cloaking devices drop as 5 Predators step into the trees above the Black Ops unit. Team X raises their weapons, prepared to fight. Wolverine grips the tangled roots that fall off the cliff around him. He has fought this enemy before, the hunter from beyond the stars. He knows the creature has no patience and hopes that he has already moved on. Wolverine needs to heal. The blood has finally stopped flowing and his body is knitting itself back together. He shifts slightly and his movements send rocks flying down the cliffside. Logan grits his teeth, But it's too late. 3 drones appear over the cliff and they hone in on him. Lasers fire off and Logan is forced to leap as the cliffside begins to crumble around him. He falls through the air, his body snapping through the trees as he tumbles into the water below. But the rocks follow him, pinning him to the mud beneath the water, causing his body to black out as water fills his lungs. But he opens his eyes as there's a splash and the predator begins to swim towards him. But many years ago, back in South America, Team X has been dropped into the jungle to stage a rebel uprising. But the mind-wiped mutants have met with something they didn't bargain for. Logan looks up at the creature, vague flashes of his past leaping into his mind, and he reaches down for the strange weapon that he has carried for years, a weapon that he can't even remember acquiring. But the alien in front of him, it knows what it is. "You want this, bub? Don't you? Here you go." Logan hisses as he grabs the disc and throws it. It whirls through the air, slicing through 2 of the predators before coming back to his hand. "Creed, Mav, Jackson, fall back!" Logan bellows to his team, but Victor Creed isn't listening. He stomps forward, hefting a massive minigun on his back. "Screw that!" He growls as he opens fire into the tree line, the rounds chewing through the wood, sending splinters flying in every direction, until finally his ammo is running dry. Victor grins with vicious glee. "Well, are you dead?" he asks the aliens, but one appears behind him, driving a spear through the mutant's chest. Creed whirls around grabbing it, pulling the alien closer, driving its own spear through its stomach. "Come here, get a closer look." Creed snarls before they both fall to the ground. The rest of the team is already running, retreating through the rebel camp as they fire wildly into the woods. "What are they, Logan?" Maverick asks, but Logan shakes his head, admitting that he can't remember. Jackson turns to fire, but a wire loops down, wrapping around her neck. It yanks her up into the trees. Logan and Maverick whirl to a stop. "Where is she?" Maverick snaps, but the body suddenly drops in front of them, now missing its head. Both mutants raise their weapons, wildly firing over their heads. Logan finally stops, looking down at the body, and his eyes widen as he sees the mine attached to the corpse. The explosion rips through the clearing, throwing both mutants away, and as they come to, Maverick looks down at his wounded body. "Can't walk," he gasps at Logan, and Logan moves to lift him, with Maverick looking on in terror as one of the predators rushes them from the wood line. He grabs his pistol and he fires 3 rounds, big bullets chewing through the predator's tough hide, dropping it before it can stab Logan in the head. Grunting his thanks, Logan lifts his friend and begins to carry him away. They quickly retreat into some nearby Aztec ruins, unaware that there are 2 predators left, quickly moving in on them. "Hold tight. Keep your finger on the trigger. I'm going for cover and digging in like an Alabama tick." Logan snaps at his friend as they head into the dark interior. Inside, they're surprised to find the rebel group's entire stash of weapons and explosives. "The general was ready for war," Maverick coughs. Wolverine suddenly whirls as something comes up behind him, popping out his bone claws, preparing for a fight. But it's only the general and his remaining soldiers who aimed their weapons at Maverick and Logan. "I know why you're here. We're not enemies, so long as those things are out there." And with that, he proposes a short-term alliance. "We live together, we die together," the general says as he puts his weapon away, and Logan finally agrees, putting his claws away. "All right, but we do it my way." An hour later, the predators attack, but they are met by groups of the general's rebels, who open fire and try to kill the aliens before they are quickly cut through. The 2 predators continue deeper into the temple, following the signal from the disc weapon that Logan kept. But when they find it at the altar, they turn away to realize the entire temple has been rigged to explode. The explosion tears apart the temple and the surrounding jungle. And with that, Logan and Maverick quickly return to their waiting extraction, where they find a still-living Victor Creed. The helicopter flies away, and the temple ruins begin to shift as the claw of the surviving predator breaks free. It's years later. Guards stand at the ready at Weapon X facility in Alberta, Canada, but something comes out of the shadows of the wood line, cutting through 2 guards. The predator decloaks as he slips inside the Weapon X facility, gunfire echoing through the concrete facility as the guards try to stop the rampaging beast, but finally it arrives at the main chamber, where Logan awaits in his adamantium bed. But now we go to the modern day, back to Canada. The hunt is continuing, and having fallen off the cliffside, Wolverine is trapped underwater, rocks pinning him to the ground. But he knows his prey. He knows that this alien is from space, and he knows that it has become too reliant on its technological advantage for its hunts. He pops his claws, slashing into his own flesh, using his own blood to make the water murky. The predator splashes into the river, swimming down and pushing through the murky depths until it arrives at the rocks, discovering that Logan has already freed himself. Meanwhile, in our past story, the predator has fought its way through the Weapon X facility, killing anyone who got in its way. That's where it found Logan on a table, plugged into monitoring equipment, having recently received the treatment that would lace his bones with metal. The predator pulls out its wrist blade and slices into Logan's flesh, revealing the gleaming skeleton beneath. The ultimate trophy. But that pain brings Logan to life. His mind is shattered, more beast than man at this point. His claws pop on instinct, and he slashes at the monster, stabbing into its chest. The predator roars in pain and throws its acid into Logan's face, burning away his flesh, revealing nothing but a gleaming skull beneath. He falls back to the table still now. The predator stares down at the skull and finally picks up the mutant and begins to carry him out of the facility, back through the forest to its waiting ship. Inside, it drops Logan's body in front of the trophy case, before returning to the bridge to care for its wounds. But as it heals itself, the ship is suddenly rocked by explosions. The predator runs through the controls and looks up into the sky. When the alarm sounded, the response was sent. 2 F-16 fighter jets buzz above the forest again. "Control, this is Schwartz. The bogey's not responding to our hails, but we just gave him a wake-up call." The fighter pilot radios back to base. The jet whirls around as the Predator's ship takes off, a blast from its cannon destroying one of the F-16. "We lost Weathers!" Schwartz shouts before requesting permission to open fire on the alien craft as its engines ignite and it heads into space. "Fire at will," the commander orders, and rockets fire from the F-16, exploding against the side of the craft, but they have no effect. Inside, though, the ship rocks as the explosions hit it, awakening the healing Wolverine. The animalistic mutant gets to his feet, his face regrowing. Claws pop out of his hands, and he slashes against the side of the ship, ripping open a hole. As the alien craft heads into space, Wolverine equipment and debris are sucked out of the side, and they begin to fall back towards Earth. Logan begins to tumble through the air, picking up speed as his body ignites on fire due to the friction. Finally, he collides with the Earth and creates a massive crater. A little while later, Professor Thornton arrives with a recovery team, picking up the already healing mutant so that they can return him to Weapon X. But Thornton finds something else. A strange alien mask. He picks it up, staring at it in fascination. This would be the key to the Weapon X project. This would allow him to build something that could control the animal that Wolverine was. Canada, 1 week ago. Logan doesn't remember much about his past, just bits and pieces and flashes through his mind. But while searching through the Weapon X facility, he discovered something. He stalks through the wilderness of Canada carrying a briefcase, and he stops to open it, pulling out the Predator mask. He remembers the hunt. He remembers fighting this warrior through the history of his past. He plants a stick in the ground, hanging the mask, activating the signal that will broadcast to the hunters, that will bring them to Earth. And he prepares. But now we go to another meeting in the past for Logan. This one's in Japan, where he stands at the ready, a samurai sword at his side, and he senses movement behind him as the cherry blossoms fall. Drawing the blades swiftly, he whirls around to block the attack of Muramasa, Japan's greatest swordsman. The two trade blows back and forth, with Logan leaping away to avoid a sweeping kick, but Muramasa is too swift, and he knocks Logan off of balance, disarming him. As the blade spins through the air, Muramasa grabs it, holding both swords to Logan's throat. "You're good, Wolverine, but you're not the best that there is," Muramasa points out, and Logan grits his teeth. "That's only because you won't let me use my claws." But the two suddenly stop arguing as they sense danger nearby. Logan pops his claws, staring into the trees, seeing something from his past. "You have been my student for a long time, Logan-san, but today, we fight together," Muramasa says as he readies his sword, and above them, the Predator stares down at the two warriors it will now take as its prize. Present-day Canada. Wolverine watches from the tree line. He set a trap and he activated the signal from the Predator's mask. He waits. The creature comes to the void of space, drawn by the signal of the equipment left behind. He moves through the trees, slowly, but it trips the easily avoided traps that Wolverine has set. just enough to give it a sense of danger and confidence that it avoided it. The predator slashes through the ropes that are holding up the sharpened logs, dropping them to the ground. That's when Logan charges, his claws popped, bellowing a war cry. The predator launches grenades, but Logan charges through the flames. The predator fires a blast from its shoulder cannon, blasting off a chunk from Logan's shoulder. He stumbles and turns, lurching into the woods again, blood seeping from his wounds. The predator roars at the hunt, retrieving his mask, but that's okay. Logan knows that technology and his reliance on it has always been the predator's downfall. But now we go to the past, to Japan. The predator has returned in this story, and he has interrupted Logan's training with the Muramasa. Little help would be nice, Muramasa. Logan growls as he draws his katana, slashing at the hulking alien. But the samurai shakes his head. This is not my enemy. If I help you, it will be like a parent who does a child's chores, or schoolwork when they whine. You'll never learn, Muramasa says. Logan growls a curse as the predator meets his blade with his wrist blades. It whirls, kicking him away, but Logan recovers, taking another slash. Remember, Logan-san, if you truly want to know you're the best, keep your claws and anger sheathed. Muramasa continues, and the two warriors charge at each other, both slashing with their blades, drawing blood. The alien whirls around, firing a blast from his shoulder cannon that strikes Logan in the arm. It forces him to drop his sword as he grunts in pain. Screw this! I'm doing things my way! Logan roars as he pops his claws. Come on! We're going claw to claw! Logan snarls at the predator. It stares at him for a moment before activating its cloaking device and disappearing. Logan watches as the swirls of movement disappear into the trees and they're gone. Get back here! Don't you run away from me! Logan growls. But Muramasa joins him, pointing out that the predator isn't running away. The two warriors whirl around, finding themselves suddenly surrounded by the Hand. Muramasa quickly draws his sword. He didn't come here to fight me any more than he came here to fight your enemies. I'm sure you two will meet again, assuming we survive the Hand. Muramasa shouts. But a little bit later, at Xavier's School for the Gifted Youngsters, Logan walks to the perimeter. He makes sure that the kids are safe, and Charles Xavier greets him, pointing out that Logan missed dinner with his students. They're better off without me here, Logan tells him. And Charles raises an eyebrow at him. Couldn't you take the night off from keeping us safe? He ponders, but 3 red dots suddenly appear on his head, and Logan moves fast, pushing the professor out of the way as the blast of energy tears apart the front doors of the school. Logan gets back to his feet, looking up as the missiles streak towards him. The predator has found him once more, now tracking him to his one weakness: Logan's friends and family on the X-Men. The missiles tear through the upper floors of the school. Logan turns, running inside, passing Colossus, asking him to get the professor somewhere safe. Where are you going? Colossus asks. Those missiles hit the upper floors. That's where the kids will be! Logan shouts as he bounds up the stairs, passing through the smoke, shouting for the kids to get downstairs, but not to go outside. He finds Kitty Pryde in another room, making sure that she's okay. Look out! Kitty shouts as she phases through the door, a bolo wrapping around Logan, shocking him, sending him down to the ground. He grunts, trying to stay conscious as the predator stalks forward, pushing through the smoke and destruction. The creature raises its spear, preparing to strike the killing blow, but Kurt is suddenly there, grabbing a hold of Logan, and he bamfs away. The two appear in the living room alongside the other X-Men, Logan getting to his feet, pushing him away. Damn it, Elf! Stay out of this! Logan growls, whirling on the rest of the team. That goes for all of you! Keep away from me! He shouts, panicked for his family. They try to stop him. They try to tell him that he doesn't have to do this alone, but Logan leaves the room, rushing through the mansion. He moves through the halls, hearing Rogue yell for help from the next room. He rounds the corner to find the young mutant held captive by the predator, its blade at her throat. Logan, what should I do? She whispers. He walks forward slowly, his claws slipping back between his knuckles. Nothing. You should do nothing. Logan tells her softly, holding up his hands, motioning for the predator to take him captive instead. If I touch him, if I take my gloves off, Rogue begins to say, but Logan shakes his head. You got me, okay? Don't hurt her. Don't hurt anyone else, Logan says to the predator. The predator huffs at him, tossing a set of cuffs on the ground. Moments later, the Predator is leading Logan out of the mansion towards its ship. It has won. But the creature suddenly turns as a second Wolverine rushes towards him. Hey, Bob! Are you sure you got the right guy? Wolverine shouts as he pops his claws. The second Wolverine slashing at the Predator, but it reaches out, grabbing him by the throat. Danny, you shouldn't have come! Logan snaps as the mutant's image begins to shift and she becomes herself again. But there's a puff of sulfur and a bamf as Kurt appears at the Predator's back. Guten Tag! He yells with a smile as he pulls the cables out of the shoulder cannon, causing smoke and gas to leak all over the Predator's face. Kitty Pryde phases through the ground, grabbing the monster's leg, knocking it down, and Rogue stalks forward, draining it of its energy. The rest of the X-Men arrive and they help Logan to his feet. But the monster managed to cloak itself, disappearing into the forest. But Logan knew this wasn't over. He knew he couldn't let the creature return to the mansion, to put the ones that he loved in danger again. Which brings us to the present day. The hunt has begun. The creature has retrieved its mask and wounded Logan. It sent him into the wilderness, it tracked him to the water, and that's where he is bleeding. But Logan isn't out of the fight yet. He knows the Predator's tricks. He knows the mud can mess with its tracking, so he coats himself in it. The creature sees his eyes looking out of the mud and it stalks forward, its wrist blade ready for the killing blow. It stabs down into the mud, but it finds nothing to strike. The Predator cocks its head, confused, and it reaches for the eye. But it finds that Logan's eye isn't attached to his head anymore. With a roar, Logan leaps out of the trees above, stabbing the monster in the back. Sparks fly out of its equipment, and it knocks Logan away. But its tech, it's not damaged. The Predator whirls around, drawing its knife, the two warriors charging at each other, stabbing again and again until the blood begins to flow from both of their bodies. For a fatal moment, the two are one and the same. The Predator refuses to end this fight on Logan's terms, and it reaches for the wrist computer and it activates the countdown. Logan smiles at the alien. He knows that it wants its trophy, even if it has to claim it in the grave. The explosion ripped through the wilderness. It ripped the trees from the ground for miles. It took days for Logan to heal, but he pulled himself out of those debris. The hunt was finally over, but Logan had his own trophy now. He looked down at the Predator's knife in his hands, knowing that he will remember to feel its keen edge for the rest of his life.
And that was Wolverine versus Predator. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please be sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below. Thank you guys so much. We will see you next time. And rest in peace, Benny. We really miss you.